People often stereotype generic brands as less effective than their brand name counterparts. But given that trusted brands demand more of your money, is there really a difference between brand name and generic drugs? Misconceptions range from their manufacturing standards to their quality, which seems to be the most important concern, which others relate to its price. Why? Because generic price is way too cheap than branded ones, about 1/3 of its price, making people think, how is it so cheap? Or is it even effective? Or does it even work? Today, let's find out the answers to your questions and look into the truth about generic medicines. Hey guys, it's Dr. Babes, and today let's talk about your medications. But before we dive into it, we need to discuss first, why is there even branded medicines and generic medicine? Who gets to decide which one is the branded or which one is generic? To understand better, it is essential for us to learn about where it all begins. So medicines, which are basically a mix of chemical compounds and molecules that has undergone extensive research for a long amount of time to make sure it is effective and, most importantly, safe. And so discovering medicine is not everyone's cup of tea. For a drug to become medicine that doctors can prescribe, investigational drugs must first go through testing in people. During drug development, most drugs are tested in steps or phases. The preclinical phase involves animal studies to check how it works, to check its efficacy and safety dose before proceeding to the next phase, which involves healthy human volunteers. This is to assess whether the drug is safe for people and whether there are any unwanted side effects. They say that the financial compensation for research participation is considered a profitable income for volunteers. That's why some people tend to be encouraged to become professional guinea pigs, earning almost $10,000 annually. Wow, maybe we should consider it as a part-time job. What do you guys think? Will you consider it? Well, it's still a focus of ethical concerns because even though it is said to pay well, it still poses a high risk. Because of that tedious research and rigorous testing, the cost of creating a new drug requires about $3 billion of investment. Yep, that's a lot of money, right? Now imagine all that money, $3 billion, all going into trash. Yes, that's the risk a pharmaceutical company takes by researching a new drug. Because with just a single adverse reaction, all their money and effort might go down the drain. Such a waste, right? But on the brighter side, if their drug gets approved to be used in general public, this is what we call the innovator medicine or the branded medicine. The first of its kind. Nothing else like it. For now. Certainly, of course, the company has the right to set its own price. Now, if there is a demand for that drug and they were the only ones who sold it, the cost could be really high and expensive because no one else is offering it. This is also a way to recover their investment. Now, of course, also the companies wouldn't want other companies to just copy the result of all their hard work and effort. That is where the patent law comes in. Patenting a product prevents other companies from copying it for about 20 years. It covers many aspects of intellectual properties of a drug, including its manufacture, formulation, and in some cases, its use. This is another way for pharmaceutical companies to recover their development cost and to make a profit to cover the cost of drugs that failed during the testing process, as well as to invest in future development of innovative drugs. When the patency expires after 20 years, the competitors of that company starts making the same medicine. Now, the generic drug manufacturers do not need to start manufacturing from scratch. They wouldn't have to spend to do clinical trials, since the brand name companies has already done a lot to establish its safety and efficacy. With this, they also don't need to pay for costly advertising such as marketing and promotion. These factors makes the cost of manufacturing the drug become significantly cheaper. Now let's go to the main concern. Is generic medicine the same as branded one? The truth is, generic drugs works just as well as branded ones. In fact, generic drugs have to be the same as the branded ones. The active ingredient or the component that determines the effectiveness on the body is the same. The strength or dosage is the same. The route of administration is the same. If the branded is capsule, then the generic version is also capsule. The rate and absorption in the body must be the same. The amount of drug that reaches the bloodstream must be the same. Even the side effects are the same. Generic drugs is manufactured under the same strict standard and processes as that of the branded ones. These drugs go through a series of strict regulatory testing to prove their bioequivalence to the brand name. Remember that the FDA will not approve it if it's not rendered safe and effective or pharmaceutically equivalent to branded ones. So what is different? Since different companies make generic versions of the drug, they may slightly differ in shape or markings. The inactive components, or what we call excipients, may differ, such as filler ingredients like starch or gelatin, some flavoring, or a different coloring. The good news is that these differences don't impact and will not affect the overall effectiveness, performance, or safety of the public health level. So while they aren't exactly the same, they are effectively the same. And actually, a lot of studies routinely prove that generic drugs are as effective as the brand name. In fact, some studies show that individuals are more likely to stay on course with generic drugs because of the lower cost. For example, a 1-month supply of a common branded cholesterol-lowering medication might cost around $150, while the generic version could be as low as $25. You just save $125. That's a steal deal, right? So by opting for generic medications, you can free up funds for other expenses or more activities, providing you more financial flexibility. The price difference has something more to do with economic drug pricing, patent law, and the biggest difference maybe would be marketing. Brand names get marketed, and whether you think about it or not, it stays with you subconsciously. For example, when you're at the pharmacy and you're offered 2 same products but with different names, you'll feel more familiar with the one you saw on TV or social media, right? It's the reason why people would rather buy something that says Tylenol rather than acetaminophen, because the first one sounds familiar and the second one sounds so scary and complicated. Yet, they're exactly the same. Also, branded prescription drugs cannot be endorsed directly to the public. Hence, pharmaceutical companies allot money for symposiums or maybe assign medical representatives to promote their products and deal with the sales, which also reflects to its price. Overall, generic medicines are 75 or even 85% cheaper, and it actually doesn't have anything to do with how well they work. The FDA makes it clear that generic medicines are the same high quality as their brand name version. Making the switch to generics can actually translate to substantial savings, making healthcare more affordable without compromising on the quality of treatment, and in the long run, this can help to lower our overall healthcare costs. Now you know the truth about generic medications. I hope you learned a lot from us today. Let us know what you think and put it in the comments below. Click the subscribe button and hit that bell button for more healthcare tips and medical advice. Always stay curious and stay informed. We'll see you next time. This has been your good doctor.